Okay, the moment of truth. Will this pump spit oil out or will it suck oil in? Let's find out. Ignition. There's pressure. Okay, so we didn't spit oil out, but there was definitely pressure. There was pressure on our output. Now, prior to this, the center section was pointed counterclockwise, meaning the pump was turning that way, right? Well, the pump, the Vane pump inside, the valving was meant for left hand or counterclockwise rotation from the engine, so that would be the input side of this pump. So by flipping that, now there's an arrow on that center section for a reason. That arrow is supposed to be in line with the rotation of the shaft inside. So whether you're using a counterclockwise or clockwise rotation input, saying an engine or electric motor or whatever that is, this Vane pump needs to be directed, the center section needs to be directed in the same direction as the rotation of the shaft inside. So in other words, this rotation of this pump needs to be the same as the arrow on the center section of the Vane pump. So in this situation, this setup, this is my output. This should be my high pressure. And I don't have oil in the reservoir. I've drained all the oil out of the system. So this should be my return up here. That goes into that big opening right there. When I put this section on the top of that pump, that is a big nut with holes in it. All these, that is from our reservoir up there. That hose comes in, actually right there. That's our reservoir hose. The one that you see next to that is actually for the drive pump on the other side. So don't pay attention to that little guy. What we're talking about is the backside of this distribution block is where the fluid comes into the distribution and goes into our system through that big opening. All three of these do, even though this last one over here is a pressure release. But the one in the middle is actually the filter input, and that comes from the output on your control valve. So where it says out on your control valve, that goes to in on your distribution block. And the center, which also has a rock filter inside, like an old carburetor filter on the old Rochesters and stuff back in the day, back in the 70s. Anyway, this outer hose here, so the first hose towards us is a high pressure release. The second hose is return, that's filtered into your distribution valve, which goes down into your pump and then comes out your output depending on the flow. Well, not depending on the flow. Well, actually, yes, depending on flow. If I flip that center section over, this will be input and the top would be output. And these valves would be wrong. So the way it's made is the pressure comes this way, and if the pressure is too great this way, it pops that valve open and allows pressure back this way, which comes back to your return. back to your tank. So this is your high pressure release up here on the front. And also, I haven't checked, but that should be your high pressure sensor right there. But anyway, this is your output on your pump. And I'm going to go ahead and get this put back together, get some fluid put in the pump, and then try this out and see if we have pressure on our hydraulics or whether this pump's bad altogether.